What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Austin here.
And Eason.
And today we're going to be covering everything you need to know leading right up to launch for Biomutant. So Biomutant is launching on May 25th for all major platforms. And if you pre-order right now, you can get your hands on the exclusive to pre-order mercenary class.
Keep in mind, after the game is launched, you'll still be able to purchase the mercenary class, but you won't get it along with the game if you didn't pre-order. We will also dive into more details on the mercenary class further in the video.
So right off the bat, you're going to have a few breeds or races to choose from when you're customizing your character. You're going to be able to select from Primal, Dumdon, Rex, Hyla, Fip, and a Murgle. Now, these breeds do have some specific stat differences, so choosing and pairing up the right breed with the right class is going to help you get that more refined build.
And talking about builds, we do have classes in this game too, which follows along with the perk system. Now, the classes and the perk system, it's a little weird on how it works. It's not like your traditional perk system where every class has its own perk. They do have their own perks, however, there are general perks. So let me just break it down into three different branches for you. So you have the first branch, which is going to be the class perks. Each class has its own list of perks that it can choose from and earn, and they also share some of those perks with other classes, but they're only perks that you can get by choosing those specific classes. Moving on to the next tree is called Wung-Fu. Now, those are more like your combat abilities, and they can also be borrowed from other classes, though they're more of like a more general thing where any class can choose anything from Wung-Fu. That's its own thing. And then you have general perks. General perks are their own perk system. They're their own perks that any other class can choose from. You don't have to choose a specific class to choose from. It's very, very weird, but also I kind of like it. It adds a different flavor to the game and gives you a reason to choose different classes.
Yeah, so you get that replayability, right?
Yeah.
So just to give a list of the classes, you have Deadeye, Commando, Psy-Freak, Saboteur, Sentinel, and Mercenary.
And like I said before, each one of these classes come with their own list of 5 perks that you can choose from. And to go on the mercenary point, mercenary is more like a mishmash. There's nothing that people are going to miss out on if they don't have the mercenary class. The only downside is you won't be able to have access to the mishmash of perks that would be available in this class. However, the perks that are available to this class are all available to other classes in the game right now. So you'd still be able to play around with those perks. You just wouldn't be able to play around with them in the combination that the mercenary has them.
So, as is standard RPG fare, you're going to have all your normal attributes: your vitality, your strength, your intellect, your charisma, agility, and luck. All of these attributes, paired with the right breed, are going to help create a more defined look when customizing your character. For instance, increasing your attributes in one slot may increase the size of your character's head or the bulkiness of their chest or torso. So you can really play around with these and kind of get an idea of how you want your character to look and how you want your character to play.
Right, so if I just want to be a big tanky brute man, all I do is invest in strength and it'll be a big beefcake. I like it.
That's the idea, and I'm sure that's exactly what you're going to do.
Oh yeah, big beefy beefcake with a big smile on his face because he's lucky. Or charismatic, yeah. Charismatic, charismatic. Anyways, we got immunities coming up next, and immunities, you have like 4 different ones, and then you have your regular armor, which is just your base armor. That's the gray little one down there looking all gray and weird. Yeah. But you have your 4 environmental immunities, which you're gonna have to deal with in the world. So you have snow, toxic, heat, and radiation, which is purple. Each one of these, I mean, you're gonna have areas in the world where if you don't have these on there, you're gonna end up dying really fast these toxicities. And if you don't have that, well, you're not gonna be able to explore the world that much. So you're gonna want to invest in these quite a bit.
Yeah, it affects the acclimation of your character to the environment, right? Like each biome is going to have this toxicity that you need to be able to have an immunity with.
Right. And then it'll let you explore certain zones more fully.
So what happens if you don't have the immunity?
Well, your character will start losing health immediately after reaching 100% exposure to whatever zone that they might be in.
Okay, so it's like a time thing. Now, I think it's also important to note here that while you're creating your character, you'll notice that you have that toxicity kind of pattern on your right arm. Depending on which immunity you initially put your points into and then eventually like transition into throughout your adventure, your arm is going to match that immunity's color. So keep that in mind when creating your character.
That is a nice detail. I wonder what it would look like if you have 100% in all immunities.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, if it changes based on what percentage the immunity is.
Huh.
But that's one detail that we noticed in the character creation video. So moving on to the combat, and I mentioned Wung-Fu earlier. So yeah, every class can pull from this Wung-Fu trait, and that'll have things like different psi abilities, different abilities that you can perform with guns, swords, any type of melee combat. You know, that's just the general thing that any class can pull from and learn.
So a couple things with combat to note is that with the gameplay that we've seen, we know that you have like a perfect dodge. So like when you are able to dodge away from an enemy just in time, it's going to slow down your movement so that you can better get in there and do some damage, or at least take some time to make your next action. So if you're looking for a very serious action RPG here, you're not going to find it. When you're swinging around and you're hitting people, you're going to see big old comic book letters that say things like kablooey, and you're going to hear a ridiculous narrative or a narrator's voice shouting obscenities. So just keep that in mind when you're playing the game.
They did confirm though that you can toggle that stuff off, or actually there's like a way you can just kind of determine, well, how often does the narrator come in? You know, if you do like the narrator, you don't want to listen to him that much. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to listen to him that much, so tone him down a bit, you know? Or if you don't want to hear him at all, screw you, narrator, stay out.
You know? I personally like the narrator and all that crazy stuff. I'm a big fan of TMNT, so I'm all for it. Bring it on.
And the same thing with the comic book stuff. If you're not into the comic book stuff, if you just want to see straight up numbers, you can still turn off the comic book stuff. That's been confirmed also.
So when it comes to crafting, what's really interesting is that you're going to be finding these crazy old human world items all over the place. And we're talking about things like plungers or a giant toothbrush. You can craft these things onto your weapons, and you can take all different kinds of parts, just like modular items, and craft them together. And these crafting stations are just about everywhere. As a matter of fact, in one of these videos, they mentioned that if you see a balloon off in the distance, which you often will, you can most certainly head towards that balloon and you'll find a crafting station, which is really interesting because you're going to be finding loot everywhere. You're going to be finding these rewards all over the place, and you're going to want to craft these items and upgrade them. Transmog is not a thing here. So if you see an item you like and you want to upgrade it, you're going to want to make sure you get on top of that.
And if you're into the full fashion statement thing, you can still upgrade your gear enough to kind of be competitive if you like a certain look. So if you want to just hold on to it, and keep in mind, if you invest into the luck attribute, you have more crafting resources given to you every time you loot them. So,
yes, yep, in a big way.
Yep. So if you want that stuff, luck might be a good way to go. If you're into crafting, that might be a good way to go.
Good pro tip. Now tell them why we're really here. You and I both know why you're really here.
The mounts.
The mounts.
Oh my gosh, what they've showed for the mounts is so cool so far. Oh my gosh, there's a finger that uses finger guns to shoot people with. It's the best thing ever.
It's a hand, right? It's like a crawling hand.
Yeah, crawling hand, and it uses just finger guns people. What more could you ask? But on top of that, if you're not into finger gunning, you have your more traditional fantasy type mounts. I saw in one of the gameplay videos, they're like riding this caribou elk thing. I don't know what it is, but it's very pretty.
It's very eclectic, right? In all the videos we've seen people riding books. We've seen people riding like jaguar-y cat.
Yeah,
things.
riding books, opening up a briefcase and floating. It's
right.
It's very cool. It's very, very different and diverse. And looks like there's a lot of stuff you can just go out and find. And with that said, though, they have mechs actually that you can also pilot, which is freaking awesome. And
with entire movesets for combat.
This is an extension of combat. They have their own movesets, the combos, everything. They can jump, they can fly. Oof, it's so good. Fallout armor, like Fallout power armor, but with a rat tail.
As Fallout power armor should have originally been.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah. So like it's very reminiscent of Fallout power armor, because if you look at it, it's got like the boot. The boot looks so much like it. It doesn't have the little valve on the back that you would use to get in. But either way, he's charging up a little like power fist move, and he charges up forward, and it just looks so cool. It's like, wow, I'm gonna be able to wear Fallout power armor in this game too.
And it's just another great thing to have all of these different forms of getting around, because you're gonna be doing a lot of it. From what we know, the Biomutant world is incredible. It's not just massive,
Oh my
right,
gosh.
with different biomes, but they're promising that it's going to be filled. And if you thought Fallout and their May the 4th Star Wars trailer was like references to their geeky nerdiness, this game promises to have references riddled all over the world, loot everywhere to find, and things to do and collect around every corner.
We got to see just like what half the world map looks like, it seemed anyways, because I saw part of the major tree in the middle, because that's the thing, it's in the middle of the map. So it looked like it was half the map to me that we saw in the explanation trailer. So
it got a large portion of it. And the interesting thing on that map, it was dynamic.
Yeah, it was like, so like, you know how the Skyrim map is where it's like the actual world, you just see the world above you.
Right.
That's how it looked. It was so cool.
And you could see a flag waving in the wind and the clouds moving on. And it was awesome.
Yep, absolutely beautiful.
So we haven't really seen much as far as the narrative goes, but we do know that we are working towards a cause of saving the world tree. We know that the world tree provides for all life in this world, and something is going on. We have these big bads I'm going to let you talk on, but we also have this task ahead of us where we have to try and save the world tree by removing all this radiation and all this stuff that's going on in the world. So tell them a little bit about the enemies that we're going to be fighting and just the kind of people we're going to be engaging with.
So the way that you do go about saving this world, it seems like you have two different paths you can go down. You can either go down the path of let's have everything burn everything down, start brand new. You can make basically star in your own Samuel Jackson movie. So you can either do that, or you could just be the good guy. You can be the good guy, be like, hey, we're going to cleanse all this bad stuff. We're going to try and save it from getting any worse.
So how do I go about making these decisions, and what people do I interact with in order to do so?
So you have the dark and light, and then you have 6 tribes, and three of those 6 tribes each follow dark and light. So you can either be the guys, you could follow the guys who want to destroy everything, or you can be the guys who want to save everything. And you learn their different Wung-Fu styles along the way. And, you know, I don't know if there's like different stories or different beefs that they might have with other tribe leaders where you have to settle.
That would only be fitting.
Yeah.
I would love to see gang wars.
Yep.
And because we know that we're going to be able to like burn outposts or save and, redeem outposts. And then so it has to be that way, right? It has to.
Yeah, there's got to be some beef in these tribesmen here.
So yeah, we're going to have a lot of opportunity to express whether or not we want the light or the dark, because we're obviously going to be getting a large portion of our questing. I imagine a lot of our side quests, aside from the main narrative or path, from these 6 tribe leaders.
Along with the tribes, you do have the big bad world eaters. Now, Dave mentioned this in a video a while back, but they mentioned that there's these big bosses, big world eaters, and they're like your big animal dudes who just want to eat the tree or something like that. And these are going to be
vegetarians.
Yeah, vegetarians, of course, or they just eat everything that they see. But
yeah, we got to stop the vegetarians.
Yeah, so like you've seen in the trailers, like the mechs going up against the giant freaking things, or like the main character getting eaten whole by like a giant blue hairy thing. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, so those guys are the world eaters. Those guys are the ultimate bad of this universe, it seems.
And we're gonna whoop them.
And we're gonna whoop them or get whooped.
What's interesting about this game is that I believe in one of the explanation videos that we saw, one of the creatives behind the game mentioned that they were comparing the game to Ratchet & Clank, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it doesn't come to me right now, but all these incredible action games. But the 2 most notable that stood out to me was Ratchet & Clank and Breath of the Wild. These are very apparent in both the combat, collecting styles, the way you move around the map, and the overall world. I think that it's important to note that this game is not afraid to come forward and say where they're getting their inspiration from, and clearly the team is filled with a bunch of nerds. We like that here at NERDZOO. They're not afraid to put out a May the 1st trailer on Star Wars Day, and then show you Fallout power armor, and then promise tons of hidden Easter eggs and references. So if you are a fan of all things, I think Biomutant is definitely a place to look, especially since most of these AAA games that we know of have been pushed back to next year, and we're still not sure what we're going to get at E3. I am extremely looking forward to Biomutant, and I know that you have a lot of coverage coming up soon. Why don't you tell all the nerds what we're going to be doing over the next week to cover Biomutant?
We're going to be doing a lot of gameplay for sure. Just doing like a let's play for those guys who want to just see us play the game. And then we're also going to be doing where to find certain things. Like, so say there's like a mount you guys are having a hard time finding. We'll just try and upload anything that we find. We're just going to be like, hey, this is where you find this is where you find that. Or maybe like a perfect, a very powerful build or something like that, or something interesting that might work out for you guys. We'll share that with you. Also, something along the lines of like crafting. So say there's like something awesome to craft, like an optimal way to craft a certain weapon or something that even just looks cool. We'll give you guys that because why not? It sounds fun.
Yeah, and I know I'm personally excited for all these class builds. And if you guys want to know how to build an Eason Beefcake, or if you're like me and you want to build the Demolition Man, make sure to stay tuned because we're going to be covering a lot of Biomutant content really soon. And this is our first major dive into it, so just stick with us. Eason, take us out of here.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. So until next time, guys, take it easy.